Time for an update on some previous Plain English stories. Hi there, everyone. It's Jeff, and this is Plain English episode number 722. Why is the episode number important? It's important because that's how you find the transcripts. That's how you find all the quizzes and exercises and chances to practice in English with today's story. So if the episode number is 722, then you just go to plainenglish.com/722, and that's where you'll find links to it all. Now here at Plain English, we tell stories to help you learn more words in English, learn how to express ideas in your second language, and twice a year, we like to take a look back at previous stories to see what's new. So that's what we'll be doing today. In the second half of the episode, I'll show you how to use the English expression sooner or later. Before we start today's story, I'd just like to remind you that the podcast is just one part of how we can help you upgrade your English skills. At plainenglish.com, you can make faster progress with active learning strategies. You can take quizzes, do activities, listen to the fast version of the audio, watch video workshops, practice what you learn, and even join a live call with JR and me. It's all about helping you build your skills to become a better, more confident English speaker. Sound good? Go to plainenglish.com to start your free 14-day trial today. Now, let's jump into today's story. It's that time of year again when we check in on the latest developments in some stories you've heard about in Plain English before. Let's start with a recent one. Earlier this year, in episode 680, you heard about how dengue fever is spreading rapidly in Latin America. This tropical disease is spread by mosquitoes and can cause a high fever and flu-like symptoms. Most cases in non-tropical countries come from people who have traveled to tropical areas. But now, Los Angeles and San Diego, both cities in Southern California, have registered cases of dengue fever among people who have not traveled. That suggests that the mosquitoes there are spreading the disease. And Italy has seen an outbreak of 500 cases this year, including 100 in the city of Fano, which has only 60,000 people. Rising global temperatures and increased travel to Asia and Latin America contribute to the spread of dengue to new areas. Speaking of diseases, they have renamed monkeypox. You learned about that in episode 495. Monkeypox is now M-pox to reduce the stigma. And although there have been vaccines in the rich world for many years, those vaccines had never made it to Africa until now. Africa has more cases of M-pox than any other continent in the world, and it is now spreading to new countries. 6 African countries have M-pox for the first time ever in 2024. Rwanda, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Nigeria have started administering the new vaccines to high-risk groups. Japanese superstar baseball player Shohei Ohtani is playing his first meaningful American games in October this year. That's because he's finally with a team that has made the postseason tournament, the Los Angeles Dodgers. You'll remember from episode 673 that his translator was arrested for diverting, that's a polite word for stealing about $17 million from Ohtani's bank account to fund the translator's, sports gambling habit. He pleaded guilty to bank fraud charges in June, so there will not be a trial. He faces a maximum of 30 years in prison for what he did. Ohtani said he lost sleep over the matter, but it didn't seem to affect his performance on the field. He's a shoo-in to win the Most Valuable Player award in the National League. In episode 523, we talked about the Netflix series about Jeffrey Dahmer, a serial killer. The 10-part series was not a documentary, but not purely fictional either. It was a dramatization of the case. It was called Monster. And now the producers of Monster are back with a new series called Monsters. It's about another famous crime from around the same time. The Menendez brothers, Lyle and Eric Menendez. They call them boys. They were 18 and 21 years old. They shot their parents in their home in California in 1989. The series centers on their family circumstances, the way they were raised, and the abuse they faced in their family. Enjoy the series. It is captivating. I watched it recently, but be aware that this is fictionalized, and there is a lot of steamy drama that, let's just say, is not fully supported by confirmed facts. Javier Bardem plays the father, Jose Menendez, and he is excellent in that role. Monsters was number 1 on Netflix in the weeks after it was released. In episode 118, that was in early 2019, we talked about Havana Syndrome. U.S. diplomats and government workers say they were subjected to a new kind of weapon. They were in their homes in Havana, the capital of Cuba, when they heard a loud sound and felt a debilitating headache. They thought something was coming through their windows. They had to move to interior rooms in their houses to escape the sound. After the incidents, they had trouble with their balance. They couldn't read. They couldn't function at work. They couldn't concentrate. Since those cases were reported, U.S. and Canadian diplomats and workers have experienced these symptoms around the world in Europe, Latin America, China, other parts of Asia, and one person in the United States across the street from the White House. The U.S. government investigated whether this could have been the result of a new weapon and concluded that it was not. Some doctors speculated it could have been a mass psychogenic illness, the scientific term for mass hysteria. This theory holds that the people experienced symptoms only because they heard about other cases. I am unconvinced by that explanation. 3 journalistic outfits conducted a 5-year investigation into the syndrome. They are Insider, the online publication, 60 Minutes, a news program in the US, and Der Spiegel, a German news magazine. In an extensive report released earlier this year, those publications conclude that the most likely explanation is a targeted, non-lethal acoustic weapon, which might have used lasers, sound waves, or microwaves to debilitate specific people. The journalists said the evidence points to Russian military intelligence, although the exact cause remains unknown and unproven. Russia called the conclusions baseless, while the White House said it was very unlikely. Years after the victims first reported symptoms, and even after multiple public and private investigations, the mystery of Havana Syndrome endures. In episode 151, you heard that CocaCola was introducing a new permanent flavor, this one coffee flavored. I believe I said in May 2019 that I would try it. It's now October 2024, and I still haven't had one, despite the fact that they sell it in the 7-Eleven in my building. I'm bringing this up because for most of its history, Coca-Cola resisted introducing too many new flavors, but they're now starting to experiment more. The company released a spiced version of its classic flavor. It was to be a permanent flavor, but they retired it after just 6 months. Consumers said it tasted like cough syrup. Even so, Coca-Cola has been leaning into temporary or promotional flavors. Coca-Cola recently released an Oreo flavor. I tried it. You know what it tastes like? It tastes like Oreos. It really does. In my opinion, it tastes more like the filling than the chocolate cookie part of an Oreo. The mouthfeel is like normal Coke, but it does feel a little creamy, almost like drinking cream soda. If you had not told me it was Oreo flavored, I might have guessed that it was marshmallow flavored. And really quick, football player Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are still together. That was episode 623. JR played his first game of pickleball and he liked it. That was episode 570. I still haven't played. There are some really good podcasts about the Havana Syndrome. I'll link to them in the part of the transcript called Jeff's Take. Sooner or later. Sooner or later is an expression we use when something is bound to happen. Something will definitely happen, but we just don't know exactly when. When you use sooner or later, you're saying that at some point in the future, an event will take place. Something will happen, even if the timing is uncertain. There are two slightly different ways to use sooner or later. The first means an event will take place in the future and we don't know when. The second way means something is going to happen gradually and we don't know when the process will be complete. So let's start with the first definition. Something is inevitable. It will definitely happen, even if we can't say when. When you say sooner or later, you highlight the fact that something is unavoidable. It will happen. How long do you keep a phone for? I had an iPhone 8 for more than 4 years, and toward the end, the battery life was pathetic. The charging port didn't fully work. It was slow, and I knew sooner or later I would have to replace that phone. I didn't know when exactly, but I knew it had to happen. So I said to myself, sooner or later, I'll have to replace this phone. So notice the pattern. You say sooner or later, and then you say the event that will happen or that has to happen. Have you ever put off a difficult conversation? You have a conflict with someone, or you have to give someone bad news? It's so easy to put those conversations off. It's so easy to delay them. So someone might say to you, sooner or later, you're going to have that conversation. In this case, the person is telling you the conversation is inevitable. You will have to have it. Maybe tomorrow or the next day or next week or 2 weeks from now or a month from now or 6 months later. We don't know. But you will have to have that conversation sooner or later. It will happen. We just don't know the exact date and time. It's very common to use sooner or later when a person has to do something unpleasant, have a difficult conversation, replace an expensive device. But not always. You can use it when you think something positive or neutral is going to happen. A sports team might be in a slump. They might have lost a few games in a row. So you might say, we're going to win sooner or later. That means we'll get a win. We just don't know exactly when that will be. And if you were listening closely, you noticed that you can put sooner or later before or after the action. Sooner or later, we'll win a game. Or we'll win a game sooner or later. So that's an event when the specific time is unknown. Sooner or later can also be used to describe something that happens, that is happening gradually over time. The only thing that's unknown is when it will finish. For example, think of someone working on a long-term project. Imagine that person is me. I am working on updating a lot of our video lessons in plain English with quizzes and exercises. And with those activities, the video lessons are becoming true workshops, but it's taking a while. There are a lot of these video workshops, and it's not easy to add these exercises and quizzes. But sooner or later, I will finish this project. So you see, this is something gradual. It's developing. It's happening now, but it's not clear when the end will come. How about an example with you? I might say to you, sooner or later, you'll start speaking English fluently. You're already learning. You're already taking important steps. You're in the process. You're heading toward that goal. I think you'll get there. I don't know when you'll get there, but I think you will. Sooner or later, you'll start speaking English fluently. All right, so this is an easy one. Don't overthink it. And if you're a Plus member or if you're in your free trial, you can go to the transcript page at plainenglish.com/722 and you can practice using sooner or later in a sentence, and I'll reply. Now, if you haven't started your free trial yet, or maybe, and I know you are out there, maybe you were a Plus member a few years ago and you want to see what's new, start your free trial now. You will do it sooner or later. You won't be able to resist the temptation forever. So you may as well just do it now. PlainEnglish.com/join, JOIN, to sign up for your free trial. Well, we'll be back on Thursday for a new lesson, our last election-related lesson of the season. It's going to be about what Election Day is like in the United States, what the day is like. What do we do? What's it like in the morning? What is it like when we watch the returns? So I wrote that one a little while ago, and it's a good one. I think you'll like it, even if politics isn't your jam. See you then. Listen up. If you speak Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, or Turkish. One of the most frustrating things about listening and reading in a second language is being confused by unfamiliar words or phrases. When you listen to plain English, or when you read the transcript, you probably encounter some words you don't know. When that happens, you have a few options. You can stop the audio, go look up the definition, then return to the episode, find your place, and press play again, but that's exhausting. Or you can just skip it and be confused. That's no fun either. But what if you could see the translation of the word into your language instantly without having to stop the audio, without having to look anything up? Well, you can at plainenglish.com. For each episode, we translate about 100 words and phrases from English to 9 languages: Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, and Turkish. And we highlight those words in blue. All you have to do is hover your mouse over the highlighted word, and you'll see the translation instantly. It works great on mobile too. It really makes listening a lot more satisfying, and it's a great way to expand your vocabulary in English. The best way to see these translations is to sign up for a free 14-day trial at plainenglish.com. During your trial, you can read as many transcripts as you like, all with the translations into your language. So sign up for your free trial today at plainenglish.com.